Welcome everyone for a new exciting episode of Unscripted Life Lessons. Today I have a very special and very dear guest. Not only is he a colleague of mine, and I would even say a friend already, he's also an incredible artist, an incredible photographer. Welcome today, Matt Stagliano. Thank you very much for being here.
Ollie, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
Wow, your setting looks awesome. 1,000 times better than mine, but I'm just roll with the punches. You showed me some cool tricks. I like when people really like curate the way they appear. It reminds me of the 20,000 Leaps Under the Sea, like your Captain Nemo today. I like that.
Oh, that's the whole thing. It's all lipstick on a pig, right? So I tried. You should see the room that I'm actually in. It is a very narrow, very short room, but I've done everything to maximize the space. So don't let the look fool you. Don't believe everything you see on the internet. That's basically what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to maximize the space so that I can walk up here to the studio, flip one switch, turn everything on, and I'm set and ready to go. Otherwise, It takes me too long to set up.
Isn't that one of our biggest, I would say one of the coolest things about our job is to, with a little light here and there and with a certain angle, we can make things, like I would say maybe ordinary or normal things look very appealing, very different, very edgy. I love that.
Yeah. And I'd love to say, just based on my own ego, that's the thing of artists, right? We always bring that out in people. But honestly, we're just perfectionists that want things to look a certain way, right?
Yeah.
And when I've been doing internet radio since like 1999. And
Wow.
I can honestly say this is the first time that I've ever actually liked the way things look behind me, right? I've tried the white wall, and I've tried being outside, and I've tried different sets, and I've tried all this stuff. And I'm finally like, you know what? I'm just going to set up at home. Forget about building it at the studio. I'm just going to set it up at home.
Yes.
This way I can just, again, flip one switch and have it be repeatable. If I had to set this up every time, I'd never get it right. Nothing would look consistent.
Yeah, and you would never produce that much, right?
Yeah, you never produce, right, ever. So it's just about, for me, trying to produce a product that is repeatable and consistent. And, whatever I say, like, you can love or hate it, but I just want the look to be consistent. You know what I mean? Like,
how superficial.
I just want, you can hate me based on my merits, not necessarily on the way things look.
You can hate me, but I will look very good while you hate me.
While you hate me, I will still look fantastic.
And it doesn't hurt as much anymore, at least me.
Right,
Awesome.
right.
How did you get into photography then? And it's not all you do, but let's start there.
Yeah. So photography, it's been a weird thing, right? I never set out to be a photographer ever. I've always been visually active, right? So I remember as a kid in the late 70s and playing with 110 cameras, right? And flash cubes and Super 8 video cameras and, all the old film gear. My dad had a dark room in his basement. He was a hobbyist, right? His camera is sitting around here somewhere. And so I always kind of grew up around it and had a look for it. But it was like a life as an artist was never a consideration in my family. It was go to school, go to college, get a job, make money, earn your gold watch, retire, straight American dream, right?
Yeah.
And I did that. And through all of those years, through college and all my jobs and rising up the corporate ladder, I always still played with video and photo and audio, a lot of audio. And I just never thought it was a viable thing. So I was working for a really large computer company from like 99 to 2010 and got laid off. We were 100,000 people. They laid off 15,000 people in a day. I was one of them. And I got caught up in it. And I said, they gave me a really good severance. I took a year off, didn't do anything for a year. I was going through a divorce at the time. I was moving from Boston to Maine. I was losing my job. And I was just like, the universe is telling me I need to do something completely different. So I just started taking pictures and would go out and bring my camera everywhere that I went. And I started taking pictures. I'm big into firearms, right? And I shoot competitively and I do a lot of work across the board. I used to train people and all that.
Cool.
And what happened was I would just take my camera to the range with friends and I'd take pictures of us having a good time and shooting and training. And what happened was that started to get picked up. This is like 2012, thereabouts. And there was nothing like this on social media. And I was just putting out this stuff with my friends. And then that started to get picked up by some of the manufacturers, some of the magazines that liked this content. And my very first paid job ever, probably my worst paid job ever, my very first paid job was a campaign for the NRA, who asked me for some photos that I had taken, basically just to license some of the photos that I had.
Yeah.
And I screwed that job up. But it was at that point that I was like, oh, apparently I can get paid for this. I should probably create a company around it. And so I started my first company, did that for 6 years, then became Stonetree. So for like the past 13 years, this has just been a like, okay, I guess I'm going to be a photographer now. And I guess I'm going to open a studio now. And I just roll with it.
How did you screw it up?
I didn't know anything about business or licensing or things to watch out for. I was just taken advantage of, not by the NRA per se. Say what you want about them. I'm not a big fan of the organization myself, quite frankly, but it was their advertising company. It's a large agency called Ackerman McQueen. And the guy that I was working with just bullied me and was like, you know, I had sent them a contract for, I think it was, I don't know, $1,000 for, you know, a handful of pictures that they could use in perpetuity for whatever they wanted, right? Really small licensing fee for something that large. And they were fine. And I said in the contract, you know, this is for specific usage for this campaign.
Yeah.
If there is any additional usage, advertising, newspapers, magazines, right? Anything like that.
Yeah.
We'll renegotiate and I'll give you a different type of license.
Yeah.
So they were like, yep, no problem, just fine. Then I found out that they had used the photos on a newspaper, like a newspaper rep in another area of the country. And someone sent me the picture and said, is this your picture? And I was like, yeah. They were like, that's super cool. I was like, yeah, it's kind of cool. And I got back in touch with the ad agency.
Yeah.
And I said, hey, you know, this is not in the contract. Here's an invoice for the images.
Yeah.
And it was something minor. It was like $400, right? Mm-hmm. And a company like this, millions and millions and millions of ad spend, right?
Of course.
So $400 is nothing. And they started to threaten me and they started to bully me and they started to say, we'll destroy not only your career, but the career of the model and like all this stuff. And I just didn't know what I didn't know, right? I didn't know how to push back. I'm like, this is my first paid job. Like, this is great. And I got eaten alive. So I said, I need to learn as much as I can about business. And that's when I really started to take things seriously and do things with the intention of running a business correctly rather than just making pretty pictures and hoping people like them.
Yeah.
Right. Because that was kind of the intention. It was fun. Let me take these pictures and get paid for it. That's awesome.
Of course.
But when you start to realize, oh, there's way more to the photography industry and making a living as a photographer than just kind of taking pretty pictures and putting them on social media.
Yeah.
That's when you have to step back and say, all right, well, what do I know? What don't I know? And even after 10 plus years in the corporate world, high-end corporate world, I realized this was like starting all over again.
Yeah.
And I had to learn a new language and a new way of doing business and stick up for myself in different ways. And, just all of the things that were different from corporate.
Yeah.
And I can say with, 13 years behind me, there isn't a day that goes by that I don't learn something new, something more, something like, oh, I screwed that up yesterday,
Yeah.
So I think getting into it, being naive was one of the best things that could have happened to me, because there was no hesitation to do what I was doing. I was just shooting images the way that I love to shoot images and having my own voice. What I didn't realize is that you have to pay attention to a lot of other things. It's more than just pressing a button if you want to run the business, right? Being a hobbyist is fine. Take your pictures, do whatever you want.
Yeah, like
you want to make a living from it, you just have to do a few different things. Yeah.
Where did you learn that? And how did you educate yourself? Did you take courses, or did you have friends or someone who was where you wanted to be, or how did you do it?
Yes, yes, and yes. So there's a couple of things to know about me. So I'm very neurodivergent, and I have learned to kind of embrace my autism in a way that I can hyper focus, learn anything, and become really good at it in a short period of time. So when I focus, whether it's music, video, photography, anything, like I hyper focus, I let all the dopamine run through my head, and I learn the thing so that I can do it at an adequate level. I don't need to be a master, but I need to be able to do it at an adequate level. So I knew enough that I could take pictures, but I only knew natural light. That's all I knew. I could only shoot pictures outside. You get me inside in a dark room, give me a speed light, you might as well be handing me a potato. I had no idea what to do with it. So I did what you do around 2012, 2013. You look for education online where you can. Creative Live, Sue Bryce Education, Joel Grimes, right? There are all these. YouTube was really early YouTube, so there wasn't as much content there. And it was more the Pro EDUs and the Creative Lives and Sue Bryce Education. And so I found all these online places, and I just started immersing myself in it. How do I use a strobe? How do I understand light? How do I understand how to get different looks? I didn't know anything about it. I knew how to compose with my eye. I knew how to anticipate a moment. Mm-hmm. I didn't know how to light anything. So I was basically a spray and pray. I will just hammer down at high speed burst. And out of these 30 images, one has got to be good, right? But that's not a way to build a body of work, right?
No.
So yeah, it was trying to learn through everything I could online. I finally settled into two worlds, Creative Live and Sue Bryce Education. The Creative Live was helping me learn a lot of different styles from different people. Sue Bryce Education was teaching me the business and also how to not only build a business, but how to shoot in a more contemporary way. Mm-hmm. I did not like a lot of the things that I was seeing at the time. And while I don't disparage any of the photographers that I learned from, they had a certain style that to me felt very 1990s, very kind of stuck in the past. It wasn't what I was seeing in magazines, and I wanted to shoot what I saw in magazines. And Sue Bryce and Felix Kuntz and a bunch of others that I found in that contemporary portrait world, the glam world, if you will. Yeah. The Annie Leibowitzes, right? The Helmut Newtons, Peter Lindbergh. That style speaks more to me than having a technically perfect commercial image that, has the perfect ratio of light on one side versus another side and key light. I didn't try to focus on technique. I wanted to learn the business. I wanted to learn the recipes, and then I wanted to add my own flavor to it. And that's kind of how I went about it. But yeah, it was like Creative Live, Sue Bryce Education, and the class here or there from Pro EDU. That's really where I started. Now I just try to go to every workshop that I can go to, every conference I can go to, because every little bit gives you ideas. Everything, yeah.
Yeah, I have the same experiences. I mean, you start with a book usually, then you go maybe with an online workshop that you buy, then you have like a platform where you're a member. Then this platform maybe offers a workshop or a meeting or whatever, or you have special photographers that you follow and you say, oh, wow, they do a workshop. Then as soon as it goes into the 4 digits, you say, ooh, I don't know. And then it's the middle 4 digits, it's 5 digits sometimes, you say. But for me, it was always a huge acceleration as soon as you were live working with someone. Little groups, small groups, the best. I can always recommend that to anyone. But apart from that, also just, I mean, yeah, rehearsing it. I mean, now YouTube is full of so much free content, too much sometimes, because you have to really look for good stuff. You're just get overwhelmed with so many things. But yeah, I think it's good.
I think there's good and bad. There's good and evil in YouTube. And I think I say this as a 51-year-old guy that has known the world before YouTube and after YouTube, right? Squarely in the middle of Gen X, so I can survive anything. And looking at YouTube today, yes, it's my general go-to resource for anything that I want to do. I want to learn different techniques on my bass, right? I want to slap a little bit funky. I want to play Joe Dart from Wolfpack, right? I'm going to find some stuff online and I'm going to play along with that, right? There's a lot of really bad information on YouTube as well, because many of the folks are trying to create content based on what they saw in another video and didn't learn and internalize for themselves. So what I mean by that, someone will come out with a video about AirPods and why you should buy the AirPods, right? And they'll go through all the tech specs and whatnot. It's an 18-minute video. Then what you'll see are 10 5-minute videos from people that are trying to get views and create content that are taking that original person's points, distilling them down, and then saying this is their take on it. And all they're doing is creating rubber stamp versions. But every time you stamp, a little bit more of that ink comes off. And every time you stamp, a little bit more ink comes off. So by the time there's 10 or 15 people out there, the information's been diluted. And that 15th person can't really give you their true experience with that thing. So I see this a lot in the lighting world, in the posing world, where people will tell you, oh, all you have to do is this, that, and the other. And you're losing the context in the education. When everybody wants to press an easy button to go from A to B and not be concerned with anything in between, that is where you learn, right? So go online, find this stuff, understand generally what's being said, but don't take it for fact. Go out and do it yourself and learn it, play with it, understand it. If you can't explain it simply, you don't know it. That's it. And I see a lot of educators overcomplicating things because they don't truly understand the material they're trying to teach. Yeah, they go on ChatGPT and they say, I would like to teach about lighting. And ChatGPT will spit out a bunch of stuff and suddenly they've got a course out. How are you teaching courses if you've been a photographer for a year and a half? I'm not saying you shouldn't teach eventually, but there's experience that you really do need to build in the craft and the business before you really should jump into education. That's my take on it, right? I'm 13 years in and I teach a little bit here and there, but there's still so much to learn. And there's so much information out there already. I want to make sure that the information that people get is my experience, that it's well researched, right? And when I go on YouTube, I have my favorites of people that do this really, really well. Then there's a lot that I see. I'm like, oh, you're just a carbon copy of this. You're a carbon copy of that. Imitation, influence, attribution, right? If you were to put out a video and I watched it and then I put out a very similar video, I'd be like, listen, I was watching Ollie's video and he was talking about these AirPods. Here's my experience with them. Totally okay. You go on here and I use all your information and I don't credit you. Bad news. And I just don't see people crediting the educators where they originally saw the information, you know? So that's my, and I can ramble about this.
I'm very on your side with it, because I also see people trying to make a fast buck with, whatever, to just make me a 15, ChatGPT is basically the source of that. Give me a text for a 15-minute meditation against anxiety, and then spit it out, and then just have a computer voice putting it in, and you have a YouTube channel and people watching it actually, and you make money with that. I mean, yeah, money driven is one thing, but I just think if you really care about something, and especially educating, people go to you because of your experience, and that's the only thing that is different from you than anyone else, is your experience. The knowledge about how to operate a camera is basically, to operate a camera is not that it's not rocket science, as they say,
They have a manual
like driving
how to use
car.
The camera.
Yeah, it's like, you can drive a car, but you're not a race driver. You can cook a meal, but you're not a chef. So you can operate a camera, but you're not technically you're a photographer, but you're not an artist, and that's what people want. And then what really is the difference is your own experiences and your view on things. And everybody has a different style. I remember what you said about the old school look that a lot of photographers have, because that's how they learned it. And photography was, at least where I'm from, a very technical job. Yeah. So this has to be this way, this has to be this way. And a lot of photographers I know that are like, I would say, 50 plus, don't consider themselves as artists. It's more of, oh no, this is craftsmanship, this is, and it is, but the famous photographers, as you said, Lindbergh or Newton or whoever, or Leibowitz, it's not that their perfect lighting is so great, or even David Chappelle, it's just, sometimes it's all over, but it's the composition, it's the story, it's what it creates in you, it's the creative part, the storytelling, the artistic way of seeing life. That's what makes a good artist. I guess even I'm not into painting, but I guess even the big ones have some, I don't know, like sloppy strokes or whatever, but still they, or when you start painting, you try to resemble nature, or you want to be as close to reality as possible. But if you see Dali or Picasso, this is far off, It's an interpretation, and that's what is important. So I will always tell someone, if you want to learn something, learn your technique, learn it with someone, but learn it for real, and then just make your own thing with it. But it's just the making. It's not consuming book and book and book. Bookshelves full of workshops, but never been outside to really do what you learn. And that's not the way to do it.
And that's it. I can read book after book after book of how to survive in the forest, right? If I get lost in the woods, I know exactly what berries to eat and what rocks to hit together to make fire and all those things. But if I don't ever get out and try it, I'm not going to last more than 10 minutes in the woods alone, right? You have to learn by experience. And all of this stuff so getting back to your point about art. Art to me has always been the ability to see the world through other people's eyes. Uh-huh. And because of however we've been raised and whatever our experiences are, we either connect with that and get it, or we don't, and it doesn't appeal to us. And that's the beautiful thing about art, right? What I find is there is a personality type that gets so consumed with the technique that they're not concerned with the art. they're concerned about making a technically perfect image, right? Which is its own thing. That's fine. But what sets those greats apart, in my opinion, is the fact that they were unashamed at putting out their version of the world. And that's what carries through. You look at it and say, I wonder why they thought that. What is the story here? I'm really interested. As opposed to seeing 700 people do the same exact look as Annie Leibovitz. They're not saying, wow, Matt's image is amazing. They're saying, wow, Matt's image looks like Annie Leibovitz's, right? And so we're searching as humans for different views of the world that we can connect to. And if you don't have your own voice, you can't expect that anyone's really going to connect with that. So when I see Lindbergh or Helmut Newton or Ellen von Unwerth or anyone like that, I see the world through their eyes. And I'm like, how do I do that? Not their style. How do I connect with the world in that way and then produce something that people want to look at, right? And maybe I don't even want to produce it so that people look at it. Maybe I'm producing it because I need to get it out. Out of the system. I just need to get that thing out, right? Yeah. Inevitably, with 8 billion people on the planet, someone is going to connect with it. And therein lies the difference between being an artist and a business person. As an artist, you don't care if people see it or not. You're just doing your thing. As a business person, you only care about people seeing your thing so you can sell it. Yeah. If you're an artist and a business person, you got to navigate that in between and care about some things and not care about others. And it's a difficult world to make a good living as an artist because your mind is in often two different places. Absolutely. Right? So good information. Yeah. Yeah. Sorry. Oh, I was just going to say there's good information on YouTube. I think that was my original point, but buyer beware, right? I think that was absolutely. I also guess focusing on technique in any way is mostly because it gives you control and security. Yeah. But focusing on like an expression that, I mean, you can never take the same picture twice. If you do the same setting on 2 days, it will be very different or slightly different, but different. And this is not controllable. So for people who need desperate like security, they focus on the technical thing, and maybe because then they can say, well, but it's technically fine, so it's good. Because that's what we learn, you know, if something is clean, if something, then it's good. If not, not. So maybe that's that. But you were not only a photographer, right? You have your company. Tell us a little bit about it. And how did you come up with the name? Yeah. So it's funny. When I was corporate, I worked in mergers and acquisitions. So we would buy 10, 12, 20 companies a year and did that for over a decade. And what I found was that the companies that I liked had short, easy to remember names. It didn't have Matt Stagliano's company of technology, right? It was always like something with no vowels and just an R at the end, right? Think Flickr or something like that, right? So when I was thinking about starting my own photography company, I always had in the back of my mind, I'd love to sell this someday. And very few people are going to buy a company named Matt Stagliano Photography, right? There's nothing there for them. But if I can build a brand under a name that is ownerless, right, then I can sell that company and walk away and just be perfectly fine with it. That was the original intention, was to build a creative agency and eventually 5, 7, 10 years down the line, build it up, sell it, and walk away with a pocket full of money. And what I found was that I didn't want to do that over time. And I'll get to how I came up with the name, but I didn't want to do that. But what I did want was to remove me from it, because I knew I wanted to get associate photographers or maybe have different aspects of the company: photography, videography, podcasting, music production, ad consulting, whatever it is. So I'm here in Maine. We've got nothing but rocks and trees around us. And I wanted something that tied my environment in Maine into the name. And this is before any chat GPT, and I would just sit there and I'd write out stone, rocks, cliffs, water, stream, river, this, that, and the other. And I had probably 2 legal pad pages full of different words. Mm-hmm. And then I just started combining them. And I made that a list of like 30 names. And then I knew my favorites, but then I started shopping it around to other people. What names strike you? And Stonetree was one that people seemed to remember. It conjured an image in their mind of what a tree made of stone looked like, right? There's really no deep meaning behind it other than I wanted it to be connected to the environment of Maine. Okay. And so I just liked it. The domain name was available, right? So like Instagram handles were available. And I was just able to name it that way. That's really where it comes from. Nothing deep to it. But Stonetree was purely about looking around and, all right, let me call it that. So it doesn't have, so you don't have to pronounce Stagliano.
So in Florida base, it would be palm tree or beach sand or whatever.
Palm water, right?
Yeah, all those wonderful creatures
cocaine called? Mirror.
Okay. Well, it's more LA, I guess. Yeah, and how I learned the word that these sea creatures that we call them sea cows, but here they have a different name.
Manatees.
Manatees, yes, that would be manatee wave creative.
Yeah, something like that, right?
Yeah. So you incorporate like in your business, you have like the full audio visual scale of production.
Yeah, and I don't try to compete on a level where I'm getting large commercial jobs for Nike or Google, right? I work.
It's not that fun.
It's really not that fun, right? I don't enjoy heavy creative directors, teams of people telling me how to do my thing, right? What I love to do is help small businesses that don't know how to do any of this. Yeah. Right? So I look at it and I say, I understand small businesses because that's all I've ever worked for and with. Even as the big company, I was working with small companies that were getting acquired, right? Yeah. So I love the small business. And up here, there's not a lot of people that have marketing budgets or know how to do anything creative for their business, right? We see them all the time. People putting up really terrible ads on Facebook or Instagram, or their websites are just horrific to look at. And a lot of times they just don't know what they don't know. It's not their fault, right? They're trying to do it on a very shoestring budget. Yeah. So what I try to do is help them first decipher what their messaging should be, and then determine secondarily, what can they afford? And then I create a budget around that for them. Like I create a suite of services around that budget for them. So maybe they just need photography. Maybe they need a short form video for an ad for their dental practice. Mm-hmm. Maybe they've got a new product coming out and they want to come up with a catchy video. Maybe they need personal branding because they're starting a business of their own. Whatever it is, I try to give them those targeted pieces of content. I don't sit back and say, I'm going to charge you 10 grand a month, whether you use what we create or not. And I'm going to give you all these things and no tools of how to use them. I want people to get value from what I do and say, all right, well, if I'm going to, create images for you, this is probably what you're going to get based on my style, my approach. Here's how you would implement it. Here's how we can grow this down the line when you're ready. And I wait for the return saying, come back in 6 months. See how this goes for 6 months. People are looking for instant, hey, I took the pictures, I put them online. Why am I not making hundreds of millions of dollars? It doesn't work that way. So it's, let me help you build a consistent brand, consistent voice of your own. I can do that with imagery and video. You have to tell me what it is that you want your business to do. I can't do that. I'm not in your business. So let me be your partner and help you take your vision and bring it into imagery that's going to support what it is that you do. And that's the way that I approach it. And so whether they need photography, videography, audio, podcasts, writing, copy, websites, I can do any of that. I focus primarily on photography and videography. That's the primary. But if people are like, how do I get into podcasting? Be like, I got you. Let me give you the equipment. Let me get you set up. All you have to do is turn on a switch and get going. But it's different for everybody. I just try to make sure that we're on the same page of what it is that they want and that I'm the person that's the right fit to provide it for them.
And do you have a team for the other things, or do you have like freelancers you take in for, I don't know, for example, like programming, copying, copywriting, all these things? Or is it mainly you who does it? Or is it like you have different shoulders to carry it?
Yeah, no, it's a really good question. So it depends. And I say that 90% of the time, it's just me. 90% of the time, it's just me doing my thing. Okay. And it's often cheaper that way for the client, right? Yeah. And we're not producing Starbucks's, product catalog for the next 3 years. They're saying, hey, I've got this thing that I'm producing on my 3D printer at home. I need some pictures of it. That's the kind of stuff that I do, right? Okay. And so if it's a bigger job, obviously I'll hire assistants. I'll hire, if it's video, maybe an audio guy, right? But I try to keep my productions really small because a lot of time, all those extra people are just overhead on the types of jobs that I do. Some brands, you need all that. But the companies that I work with, the sub $1 million companies, yeah, they don't need all that extra heavy stuff, especially when all the information's being consumed on this thing. Yes. Right? It's not going to Con. It's not going up on an IMAX screen, right? It's going on a Facebook ad or on YouTube. So I just make sure to keep that in mind and produce the best content I can. I see often that people are overgunned with, I don't know, 4K, 8K, whatever, for something that is watched on a cell phone. Every time we made with my film company, every time we made spots for commercials that were running in the cinema, all they wanted was HD, full HD. 1024 to 1800 to, I don't know, I remember. So we filmed in 4K and all that stuff, and they said, we don't need that big. Can you make it smaller? I was like, oh, yeah. Fuck. Yeah, it's a little more crisp, but you won't sell one more product just because of that. And it's this overbearing of technology. I like it slim and fast. And I mean, let's talk about how it is to work with bigger companies. Well, I personally, the budgets are of course bigger with big companies and with well, if you have the marketing man here and the black turtleneck fraction and all these people, but it's way more stress for me. It doesn't necessarily mean that you keep more money because you have to pay way more people. You have bigger teams, everything. It's usually long, like takes a month, 2 months sometimes for that. And the reward is like you have to wait for your money usually because they have these strange contracts you have to sign for 90 days of paying. And you never get more than like we downloaded and accepted it. There's no big thank you, nothing. Sometimes, yes, I don't want to, put all in one box, but from my experience, the smaller the business is, the more keen they are to try things out. Yeah. Faster if you work with the boss directly, it's always more fun, more rewarding, and they also don't forget you because not every 3 years the whole team is exchanged, kind of. It's my experience. What's yours? I think the larger the team gets, you have more people trying to prove to their bosses how good they are at their job. Yeah. Right? Yeah. So if I'm just doing a job where it's just me, maybe my assistant, a model, and that's it, and we're shooting a clothing brand,
Yeah.
right? Leave us alone. We're going to get all the shots because we've had the pre-production conversations. Here's what you want it to look like. Here's the mood board that we're going with. Great. Leave me alone and let me go do that for you. If I fail at that job, it's my failing, and I'll do whatever I can to make it up to you. When you start adding people in, right? The marketing directors, the creative directors, some marketing underling, some video guy and, audio guy and lighting guys and grips and all this stuff. What you're doing, not only are you wasting money, but you're inviting the good idea fairy to land wherever she wants.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And so you take an image, and you know that as you're taking an image with a model, there's a timing that you have to develop. And then you start to get on the same page and you synchronize, and then everything is just hitting, right? But it takes time to get there.
Yeah.
When you have people that are there going, well, can you move the light here? All right, no, make it a little bit more interesting. Okay, well, what do you mean by interesting? Just do what you do, but just make it more interesting. Okay, let me move the light here. That's too dramatic. Okay, let me move it back. That's perfect. That's exactly where I had it 5 minutes ago, right? And all they're trying to do is prove to their boss that they're participating in the process so that they can say, no, I helped direct that shoot. And I say this, not that every shoot goes this way, but the more layers you add, the more voices, the more cooks in the kitchen, right? Now you're just getting away from the thing that you enjoy doing, and now everybody's got to say. To be honest, not everybody's opinion is equal. Quite frankly, if you're hiring me, and I don't say this with an ego, but if you're hiring me because of what I do and the voice that I have. If you just want someone to enact your vision and you've already got the shot list, here's the lens you're going to use and the lights you're going to use and the angle, and here's the close-up, it's a medium wide close-up shot. If you just give me a shot list, I'm way too expensive for that. Yeah, find a college student, say, here's what I need you to do, give them the shot list, and they'll produce it because they can. Anybody can. But if you want feel and connection and a voice and a style, let the artist do what the artist does. And if he screws it up, he or she screws it up, tell them in no uncertain terms that they screwed it up and what you want from them next time. But if you're hiring them because, he's got this great look and he's great at connecting with the talent and great at putting this on film, let him do what he does. But when you're trying to force a look, I've never had an experience where that works out well.
Exactly.
Because it becomes a technician. I'm a technician at that point. I'll press the button. I'll give you what you want, but all the soul is gone for me.
Also, it's annoying, and I think it's a lack of respect.
It's annoying.
It is. And I had this experience as well. And then I looked at them and I said, have you ever brought your car to a mechanic? Yeah. Did you stand next to him, watching over his shoulder, telling him what the fuck he should do? You know what he will tell you? Fuck off, he will say. Yeah. Get the hell out of here and take your shitty car with you. And you disclose that it happens here, I told them. Like this. So either you hired me, as I told you, as you said, for what I do, and you just let me do my job. You don't go to a Rolling Stones concert and tell them to play Smells Like Teen Spirit because it's your favorite song. You just don't buy that ticket then. Bingo. And they're like, huh. And it's never the boss who's like that. It's always never. 2, 3 below to prove that they're worth, that they were busy and not just eating the catering, It's always the same shit. Same with celebrities. If they're very famous, usually from my experience, the easiest going people, if they're approaching, still it can be difficult because I don't know who tells them, but they sometimes I have the impression they think they have to be special or a little annoying, so it makes them more interesting, or they look too normal.
You
I'm
know,
not impressed by that, but it's just me.
I don't know how much you get it. I get it a lot from people that hire me. And I don't say this to speak ill about the companies that hire me. It's funny how this happens in the industry, right?
Yeah.
Is people want to build rapport with you. They want to connect with you, right?
Yes.
You're the cool artist coming in, right? You've been hired. The expectation is that you're going to waltz onto set like Orson Welles and you're going to do magic, right? And they want to connect with you. And they're like, I'm a photographer too. Are you really? Yeah, I shot a wedding in 2016. Fantastic. Good for you, right? And they try to build that connection. And it's fine. I get it. I understand what they're doing. It doesn't mean that your opinion is then going to be equal to mine. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I'm just saying I do this every day, day in and day out for decades. You did it once on a Sunday 8 years ago. Different story altogether. And so I will listen to it. And I appreciate that. You at least have an understanding of what I'm doing. But at the same time, let me do my thing. Let me do my thing. Give me the time and space that I need to produce. And again, if I don't do the work that you want, your job is to kick me around and beat me up until I do the job. But let me do the job first. Let me produce this for you first. And if I don't hit the mark, I'll redo it for you for free on my dime because I want to give you what you want. You paid me for that. But let me do my thing because that's why you hired me. I gave you the pitch decks. We had the conversations. We did the pre-production. Now we're here. Just watch it happen. Right? That's the way that I feel about it.
Yeah.
In the moment, I'm a much more agreeable person, you know? But these are the things that, you have to say very gently to people. Like, hey, can you help me out? Can you hold this light over here? Give them a job. Tell them to do something, right?
The loudest need to be busy, then it's good. Exactly. Yeah. It's usually how it is.
Believe me, I love the big commercial jobs because they are typically fun. It's always fun to see your work out in the world, right?
Yeah, that's a good thing about it.
I've never worked for Coke or Pepsi, but if I did a commercial for Coke and then I see it out, I'm like, that's pretty cool. There's a portfolio piece right there, right? It's fun to see that stuff. The money's great. I have more fun and it's more fulfilling to work with a small brand and take them from $0 to $10,000 rather than taking a company from 1.2 million to 1.25 million.
Yeah.
I mean, that doesn't thrill me the same way than to see a small business owner be like, oh my God, this works. It works. Having good images, good video, good audio works.
Yeah.
Yeah. The big companies know that. And they're just looking to manipulate you in a different way. Small businesses and big differences are completely different animals.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Do you see an uprising threat to the business through AI, or is it just another tool? Or because I mean, especially for, I would say, non-personalized commercial work, I think there's a lot of I see a lot of AI-based imagery, which is, I mean, it will get better, but still, it's, I don't know. How do you experience that?
I think there's not enough hard disk space to get all the thoughts that I have on AI. we don't have enough gigabytes of recording time for me to give you all my thoughts on AI. But here's what I see. The AI that we have today, the imagery that we see today, is the worst it's ever going to be.
Yeah.
Right? So if we think right now we're being threatened, wait a year. You're going to be terrified in a year. Why? Because Midjourney, Discord, Midjourney, DALL-E, whatnot, they've been out for what? 2 years, 3 years?
Yeah.
Right? And it went from being horrible to now photorealistic. And that's the worst it's ever going to be. So we as artists can do a couple of things. Learn to embrace it as a tool and utilize it to make our jobs more efficient. And I'm talking artificial computer intelligence, not necessarily AI imagery, just language models, the entire concept of AI. We've been using it forever, right? The second that there was an automated receptionist, it's years old. We're just looking at it now that we've labeled it a certain thing. And now that that technology is accessible to the masses, now it's a thing to worry about, because our clients that used to come to us for headshots are saying, well, I can go on this AI headshot generator and get something good enough. And that's it. I am never going to put myself in a position to compete with good enough. What I'm going to do is create an experience for you to make sure that what I produce for you has an intrinsic value. When you use AI to produce an image for your company, right? Maybe it's a blog post, maybe it's an ad, whatnot. No problem. I get it. People want to save money. They want to move fast. It's never going to have the same feel as if you worked with an artist that really listened to you. Because I guarantee you, you're not writing a prompt the correct way to get the image that is going to tell your story in a way that clients will connect with it. Mm-hmm. What you're going to do is get good enough. So what do we do as photographers, as artists, as musicians that, we can't put this genie back in the bottle. So what do we do? Me personally, I embrace AI. I use it to help me develop ideas, to look for gaps in my thinking. Hey, here's how I'm thinking about going about this pitch to this company. Be a combative artistic director. Point out all the flaws in it based on your knowledge of X, Y, and Z, right? What we're trying to do with AI these days is create with as little input as possible. And where you get the most out of AI is by giving it as much input as possible, right? So people are looking at it and saying, I have a car, right? To use your car analogy, I have a car and I've got one wrench. All I know how to do is use this one wrench. So if anything goes wrong with my car, I'm going to use this wrench. Got to change a tire, this wrench. Got to change my carburetor, this wrench. Got to paint it, this wrench, right? Because that's all you know how to do. You know how to type one little prompt, give me a picture of a big German guy in glasses sitting behind a shelf, right? That's all you know how to do. Instead of saying, I'd love to create an image in the style of Helmut Newton. It's got to be black and white, and I want it to be a 35 millimeter frame with an f2 aperture, and I want it to be realistic. It's going to be set on a beach. You have to create the world so that AI can then give you the imagery that you're looking for. So I think we as artists need to get better at prompt creation, because we can use tools like this to work with companies better, to develop ideas. And then we take those ideas as studies, and then we go create in our voice, right? We say, all right, is this the look you're looking for, or is this the look you're looking for? Oh, I'm looking for the second look. Great. I'm going to take that mood board and go shoot this now. Shoot a different thing. I'm going to understand your company or understand my own company and produce written content that aligns with my philosophies. Okay, it spits it out. Well, that doesn't really sound like me. So let me change it up. Let me finesse it. That's where we are today. When I'm online, it is extraordinarily easy to know when something is written by AI, when something is produced by AI. There are these AI tells that are just easy because it's so ubiquitous now. And everybody's got the same emojis and everybody's got the same sentence structures, right? There's a thing that AI does, and I'll going off tangent for a minute, but I'll come back. There's a thing that AI does, specifically the ChatGPT model, that uses different types of language. So they use like compare and contrast, parataxis, allegory, where they're basically saying Ollie's not just a photographer, he's also a powerhouse in the video world. Matt's not just in Maine, he's a figurehead. There's this compare contrast. He's not just this, it's this, right? And those are different writing techniques that have become ubiquitous, and not everybody speaks or talks like that. So when I see that, I'm like, oh, you're being lazy. Now, there are times where you can be lazy. There are times, if I'm writing a YouTube description, no one reads YouTube descriptions. So YouTube descriptions for me become an SEO thing, a way to find the information. So I'll use AI to write YouTube descriptions for my podcast. However, what I'm not doing is using AI to write all my questions for my podcast and then read them verbatim and then have it write everything on my blog post verbatim. I use it to develop. All right, well, I'm going on this podcast with Ollie. Let me understand him a little bit more. Let me understand his business. What am I not seeing? Might give me some information. I'll be like, okay, let me use that. And then when I get on a podcast with you, I'm like, okay, let me ask you about these things. I'm not trying to ask you specifically what AI spits out because there are too many ways that it can be wrong. I don't trust it.
No, it's not the truth.
It's my really drunk friend who is great at storytelling, really entertaining, but I can't trust what he's saying because he's hammered, right? So when I look at ChatGPT, whatever it spits out, I don't trust that it's real, right? If it says your birthday is March 4th, it might be making that up. I have to go figure out, is your birthday really March 4th? So as artists, what I see are people that are using it well as an adjunct to their business. What I see are people that are using it as the easy button and not putting any thought into it and putting in simple prompts because it's good enough. But I think what we have to do is really step back and look at it culturally and say, what is this doing to us? What is it doing to art? What is it doing to the experience that we create as artists? AI inevitably will produce images better than I can produce them. What it's unable to do is create the experience for the client that I can provide. AI will spit a thing out that feels like it has no soul. You come to me, I'm going to make you feel safe, seen, heard. The pictures will be exactly what you want because we work together on them, right? We're creating things together. Your words are the prompt to me. I then have more experience to interpret that than a computer does. I can give you the humanity in this picture. AI cannot, right? So I think we need to learn to embrace these things so that we can enhance our experience rather than trying to make our jobs just easier. Does that answer the question? Like, I don't know if it does.
Yeah, it does. In a way, I relate to that. I mean, the question is, how do we make sure that good enough is not good enough for the client? That's the point.
It's not our job to do that. I don't think it's our job to do that because there are too many people that are going to be satisfied with good enough.
Yeah.
Our job, right? You're high end, I'm high end. I don't concern myself with the people that want one headshot for $50 and I'm too expensive. I don't worry about that.
No, that's not.
Those are the people that are that think AI is good enough. And that's fine. They're not my client. I've worked on my craft and I've built my studio and I've done my work so that the images are good. They are high level, but they're also connected in a different way. There's a lot more work that goes into them. There's more meaning, right? You can very much upload a picture of your parents to AI and say, make this a 50th anniversary photo of these two, and it will make it very nice. And when you see that, you will see some realistic representation of your parents. What you won't see are the parents that you grew up with. What you won't see are their real connection. And you can only get that when it's brought out by, I think, another human, right? The small idiosyncrasies in the smile and the eyes. AI can't produce that. It can produce a technically perfect photo. What it can't produce is emotion in the same way. And that's where we fill in the gap.
I listened to a very interesting scientist also who's into AI since, I mean, AI is, I think, over 80 years old already. And we all know it. I mean, it's the first AI thing where, like you said, like telephone voices or press button one and this and do all these things. And I mean, we just see the toys of that right now. Because there's AI in cars, in planes, in medicine, in your fridge, in wherever. I think from what is like the artistic way of doing it, I wouldn't say like prompting is an art in a way, but it doesn't make you an artist to write text for a computer. I would say art is still also part of craftsmanship and learning and suffering through the learning, but also enjoying it and putting all your experiences in it. And he also said like jobs who are, or yeah, let's say everything that is experience related has a future next to AI. Right now, everything that jobs that are like sitting jobs in front of a computer are the ones who are threatened the most. People who do work with their hand feel pretty safe until they put it in robots, and that will come one day, and then that's over as well. You won't have drivers, you won't have people who, I don't know, I mean, it takes a lot of very, very, very fine gestures to put a window shield somewhere without breaking it. So, but one day it will come. But everything that is based on an experience that clients have, if it's traveling or if it's going to a venue or if it's networking or if it's having a photo shoot and having the wardrobe on and experience that you look like the last Coke in the desert, that's what nothing can beat. It's like going to a holiday or sitting on your couch with a VR lens and putting some sand around in your apartment and drinking a margarita and putting the heater up. And even if you see, you know, the beach, it's not the same. And that's a big difference. So of course it will change a lot, and of course some jobs will be gone, and it's terrifying because in the right hands it can be the best, and in the wrong hands it can be the worst, you know. And as usual, it will be somewhere in the middle, but it's a beast that can't be undone. So we'll see what happens with that. I'm excited, but I'm also very concerned, to be honest.
You know, I was having a conversation. I'm concerned about humanity. That's a whole different story. But we're doomed for a bunch of different reasons. But I was having a conversation with Cara Marie the other day. You know Cara Marie.
Yeah.
And I was having a conversation with her the other day, and we were talking about kind of this notion of AI and what photographers will need to do. And what we were talking about was what we're seeing in terms of desperation of photographers, right? Because they haven't prepared for this inevitable change. So AI comes along. It's not the only contributing factor, but here in the US, right, economy is a thing, political uncertainty is a thing, AI is a thing. So there's all of these factors that are changing the way that we as artists work. I've always been someone that believes in diversification, right? I like doing photo and video and audio and copywriting, websites and whatnot, because it's interesting to me and it spreads out my work. Same thing with the stock market. I'll invest in Nike and Google and Apple and Nvidia because I don't want to put all of my chips on red and say, I hope I hit red. I'm going to put it on everything and something will hit, right? And that's kind of the way that I look at what we do. We have to be able to diversify and meet our clients where they're at. I'm a big believer that you don't have to dive into education. You don't have to start a podcast. You don't have to get into like SEO and prompt engineering and all the things. What you have to do is be able to look at your business or what you do as an artist and say, am I prepared for any change that comes, any uncertainty, right? It's putting some extra food in your basement. It's making sure you have some money in your savings account. Yeah. I'm not saying you have to have millions, but enough that if you need gas, you can go get gas in your car, right?
A little more.
Have to, yeah, but I mean, we have to think about these things as artists, you know? So that's where I'm at with it. I'm saying, okay, if the world is changing and maybe I don't get enough photography work going forward, let me create some digital products. What do I know? How can I use video? How can I write some books? Do things that create a little bit of passive income. So while I'm trying to find more photography clients, this stuff is supplementing what I'm losing. And all you're doing is just spreading it out so that you don't have these wild swings in income. It's a little bit steady. There's still some uncertainty, but it's just still steady.
Yeah.
And that's really how I look at AI in my life and how I'm using it, how I'm dealing with it.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have some time left here, so I can't imagine how the world will be in 40 years, let alone, or 20 years, not even 5 years, who knows? Yeah. Nobody would have thought the world would be like this 5 years ago, actually, right now. So before COVID, you know, if things changed rapidly, not just in business, but I think also with humanity in general. The beautiful thing about COVID was, and that's the one thing that when it happened, I had hope for humanity. I mean, I always have hope. I don't say we're doomed or anything. I mean, yeah, it's easy to say that because we're the only stupid animal that you know, it's destroying itself. We're also the only one who's constantly worried about everything because the only thing other animals are worried about is food and sleep. Everything else just comes by itself. Mm-hmm. But what was beautiful about COVID was that everybody, rich, famous, poor, sick, anything, we all had all of a sudden the same problem. We had the same experience and we had the same thing that connected us. And you could talk to anyone about that. They say, how did you not survive, but how did you do that? Or that was great. And also being at home and seeing the world come back. I remember that there were dolphins in Venice, you know, and stuff like that. Yeah. And Mexico City had a clear sky and a clear air. Yeah. And I thought, so it is possible. It is possible to save this planet fast if we have to, you know. That was something that gave hope. Well, now, 4 years later, or 5 years later already, I don't know if we really learned something, but sometimes it needs this. Things need to be bad to be good. I guess I think can be the same.
I think as photographers and videographers, visual artists, we are going to be the source of truth going forward. The ability to fake imagery in video, audio, right? You're seeing it now. And like I said, it's the worst it's ever going to be.
Yeah.
People are going to not know what to believe. It's going to become easier and easier and easier for propaganda, for manipulation, for just controlling what we all think, right? And the bots, the robots, will take over, and that will be what is always produced. So the artists, the people with an actual camera in their hand, are going to be the ones that are truly documenting the world. And I think there will be a resurgence for that truth. And I think photographers and videographers will be looked at to provide unfiltered, uncensored, unscripted sorts of moments, because those will be the folks that are truly capturing truth. And if truth is a value that we all hold dear, we are going to demand that. And we're in the perfect position to provide that. So truth is something that is universal, that we're all searching for. And as AI takes over, we're losing our grip on it every day. COVID's great. We all came together because we were like, there's this big thing against us. Yeah. And then immediately became, you wear a mask, I don't wear a mask. You want a vaccine, I don't want a vaccine. You're good, you're evil, right?
So fast, yeah.
So fast. But for that one moment, we all had the truth of scared humanity, right? It's the same thing we saw in the United States after 9/11. Everybody had flags on 9/12. Then over time, it became a propagandized political thing, and you had your beliefs one way or the other, and like whatever happened, happened.
Yeah.
But we look for that shared experience because in that we believe there's truth. When that starts to differentiate, that's where things get weird. I think we will be the antidote to AI, quite frankly, because we're able to provide the truth in what's happening. Take that for what it's worth.
Everything that connects people, everything that opens a room of open discussions, which I see is very different in the United States than in Germany, for example, the way people talk to each other. But I think in the long term, we are, I think, right now at a point politically in the world where we have, it feels like a last big stand of this old system that I am right, you're wrong. And they like shoot all guns they have with false propaganda, with accusing always like a little kid, you know, it's always the other ones, and
always
like pointing at someone else, and three fingers point to you. So it's too many people, as I thought, are thinking like that. Say it happens here, it happens in my country, it happens everywhere in the world, and it seems like a huge system shift. That is like when a dying animal is having a last stand, a last fight, and then finally, hopefully, gives in. And what you say about the antidote to that, I think everything that is connecting people in a spiritual way, in a positive way, in an open-minded way, in a diverse way, is helping, because that's all we have. I know that it is said. I mean, nobody in the world needs desperately someone else to survive. Usually, you know, you can live on your own. You have your food, you have your water. You don't have to go out hunting or something. But the propaganda for the egocentric person living up there in the mountain, not needing anyone and feeling so super righteous and self-righteous, I don't buy that. I don't think anyone is really happy alone unless every time they were with someone was horrible experiences. Like, that's the point. But deep inside, I mean, we all need connections. Nobody can be alone. And I think connecting people will be in the future a huge thing in any job we do. And so we're blessed as photographers, also videographers, anything where we really take our time, our own lifetime, which is basically unpayable, and invest in this person, get to know the person, get to know the dreams, that whatever they want to do, and then just create something with them. They are in this experience. That's the difference in photography anyway between high end, because high end is more expensive, because it needs more time, it needs more psychology, it needs more preparation, everything, and just fast and furious, I would say. So there's the hope for me in our field, that the connection, the experience, the will of people, no, I really want to do this, is there. Maybe for less people to, like, we will have less professionals that can live from that, but that's why you have to be really good, I think.
And that's why we kind of come back all the way to the beginning, right, with the education.
Yeah.
Is learn the craft to the best that you're able, to the degree that you want.
Yeah.
And provide your voice to the world. Some people will come to that and they'll be at a lower budget. Some people will be at a high budget. It's all how you put yourself out there. For me, I would rather work with fewer clients that really love what I do than trying to work with all the clients and make a little money for each person.
Yeah.
I'd rather have someone really value what I do and pay me for that than someone that just wants me to press the button and give them something quick and cheap. Because we all have a phone in our pocket, and how hard can it be to take a picture? Right?
Yeah.
So, okay, do it yourself. I try not to fall into comparison too much about what other people are doing or how they're doing it. I try to look at what I provide for my clients, try to give them the best experience and the best product that I can give them, and hope that they tell their friends. I ask them to tell their friends, right? Because if I have a good client, inevitably they hang around with other people that'll probably also be good clients. So I just focus on providing the best experience that I can provide. And that is satisfactory for me. That's really been my one truth for the past 13 years. I'm not a millionaire and I'm not starving. I make a living as an artist and I'm really happy with that because I can look at everything I've done and sleep at night and feel proud that I didn't scam anyone. I didn't take any shortcuts.
Yeah.
I did the work. People liked it. Some people didn't like it, and that's fine. But I can sleep at night knowing that was my honest work. And I think if we all approach things of saying, this is my honest work, this is my voice, this is my product, the people that resonate with that will show up. I'm a big believer in that.
You seem very clear, focused, and disciplined. Is that how you are? Did you learn that? Or because the artistic mind usually is like a hose that goes like that, and it has to be held like kind of. How did you? Have you always been like that, or did you learn that?
I think there's a lot that I attribute to my neurodivergency, my people pleasing, childhood trauma, right? Where you're trying to survive and you go through certain things and you learn how to deal with people. I found that in order for me to be happy, I needed the people around me to be happy. And that's not really good because I'm trying to put a mask on and be something that I'm not. So what I'm doing is spinning my wheels and trying to please everybody else instead of doing what feels good to me. So years ago, probably about a decade ago, I was in a real bad mental place and went through therapy, really started to look inward and understand how I work. From that, I found I've always been a hard worker. My dad had a great work ethic, and I've always been a hard worker. But I was always working for someone else in hopes that they liked me.
Okay.
Now, I just want me to like me. And in order for me to do that,
that's not selfish.
I have to work hard and produce stuff that I like.
Yeah.
And it's not going to happen by me just sitting around going, do I like me today? No, I have to stay focused and try to put a roof over my head. So the discipline, I think, has always been there. The intention behind the discipline has changed. So I love working hard. I love creating art, but I'm now doing it for me rather than for other people from an intention standpoint, right? This is mine, take it or leave it. I'm giving you hopefully what you want, But if at the end of the day, I know that I did a great job and it just wasn't your vibe, that's cool too. It doesn't mean that I'm a bad person or I'm not good at what I do. Just didn't connect. So I think if you're going to be an artist in business, you absolutely need to develop some of that discipline. But I've been working at home alone since 1998. So 27 years now, I've worked at home, not in an office. And I'm just kind of used to it, right? But it takes dedication every day to wake up, do the same thing every day, and not have an office, not have people around you. Right? It takes a lot to do that. Yeah. So it's
because you're a blessing and a curse. I mean, you're also a people guy. I've seen you, and I'm someone who loves people around myself for a certain time.
Yeah.
I like to have alone time, but I have a lot of alone time. So that's I recreate myself also by seeing people. And I know when I had 4 people working with me, I liked a lot about it because it was kind of like a tribe. But also, I mean, if you're the boss, you have to, everybody's looking at you all the time. Like, what now? What now? And I don't think I was a good leader at that time. I was just... Nobody showed me, and they were just there. And I said, hell, okay. When I had one colleague, it was really nice because we had deep discussions and deep talk. In German, the word discussion is not bad. It's not against. It's just like a talk. And but I sometimes have colleagues around me when I work alone. That's why I have good energy at the shoot myself in the studio, but I do also. I mean, I have my studio. You have your studio, but I also have my home office because I don't want to drive to my studio for every pixel I move or for every phone call I take. That's the point. I wish it would be closer, but sometimes I'm not in my studio for a week if there's nothing to do but to water the plants, of course. But yeah, I mean, I love having a studio, but it's also a burden. And it has to be used, and it has to be rented out. But generally, to have a venue where people come together and you have your gallery, it's beautiful. But I had it now for 9 years. Before that, I worked 15 years without a studio. I rented them. But once you have a certain look, and I love about your studio, it's big. You have a huge studio, so you have built sets that I always had to build my set, and then when I was renting it out, I had to take everything away, put it back, and it's horrible, but it's how it was. So next time I open a studio here, it will definitely be something where I can have one part for shoots and the rest for whatever, public speaking, I don't know, stand-up comedy, or just venues, or a workshop, or whatever it is, or a little bar or something like that. And that's the goal. Yeah.
And my studio changes all the time, right? So the building that I'm in is this old mechanics garage. So it's really kind of funky and strange, and concrete floors and 17-foot ceilings. It's about 2,000 square feet, and it's beautiful. Don't get me wrong, I love it.
It's beautiful.
But I don't need all the space to do what I do. It's convenient, right? Right?
You
it's
need
convenient
one corner
to leave everything,
basically.
Leave everything set up, and I don't have to break anything down, and it's really convenient.
Yeah.
But I don't need all that space. So I'm kind of in the same process of saying, all right, well, let's rearrange things. This will be the shooting space. This will be the podcast space. This will be the client space. This will be the dressing room, right? And have these different areas so that I can make it much more user-friendly. I'm like you. I don't go into the studio if I'm really not shooting anything there.
Yeah.
And I used to have all of this podcast equipment at the studio, and I would never go in and record anything. Since I moved at home, I've been infinitely more consistent, just because it's easier for me to walk from my bedroom, which is right there, up the stairs, turn a light on, here I am talking to the world, rather than let me get to the studio, set up the cameras, set up the lights, do all the things, right? It's just a bigger process.
Yeah.
I'm big into efficiency, make it easy, set it up one time and just be done with it. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, I can understand that. Apart from when you get referred or when you get referrals, how do you find new clients? Do you seek out? Do you go to, I don't know, networking events, or just online, or how do they find you and how do you find them? What's the secret
At
sauce?
this point, so one thing to know, like the town that I live in is 700 people, not 700,000, 700 people. The studio is in my next town over, and that's 1,200 people, right? So I'm in a
Wow.
very, very rural area. So after 6 or 7 years here, people either know me and like me or know me and don't like me, right? And so like the clients that I have in this area it's harder and harder to pull from the locals, right? Again,
Of course.
very high end versus a median income of about $40,000 here. So not a very rich area. So I just look and say, all right, I know who my perfect client is from a personality standpoint. All I try to do is when I'm out and about and I'm talking to people, I get interested in them. I talk to them and I listen, and I don't try to push myself and be like, you need a photo shoot. I just try to
The
listen and
worst
say,
thing to do.
it's just kind of like, what is it that they need? And they start talking to me and I start talking to them. But I find ways, instead of saying, I can give you a photo shoot, I listen to what that they're looking for. Maybe they're looking for someone to build an addition on their house. I just listen to what we're talking about and I say, you know what? Gary over here, he did all the work on my house. Let me give you his information. Let me connect you guys. And I network, right? Because that person is going to then hear from someone, oh, I met this great photographer. You need headshots? Go to him. He's right over here. You just connect with people, listen to them, don't be pushy, but look for opportunities where you can serve them. Sometimes it's not with photography. Sometimes it's connecting them with someone else in your network.
Yeah.
And that will lead to something. That will lead to something. That's why I love going to conferences and I love being on the road, right? If I just sat here in my house, I'm never going to get another client. I have to be out and talking to people. But it doesn't mean everything that I put online has to have a price attached to it and sale only and drop the prices and come on in. And that's not how I do things. I network. I try to make people feel good. I make them laugh. I make them feel safe and offer my service. I'm here when you need me. If you need anything, let me know. If you're looking for a family photographer, I'm not a family photographer, but I have 3 or 4 people that I really trust that can take care of you. So I'm not the guy, but let me send you an email with all of those photographers in it. And they're like, really? You'd do that? Yeah, no problem. I don't compete with them. So why not help you find the thing that you need?
Yeah.
And a lot of times we let our egos take over so much that we have to be the person that they hire. No, we don't.
No,
We have
no,
to be the
no.
person that serves them.
Exactly.
And then they remember us as someone that helped them and served them. I remember everybody that helped me. I don't remember the people that, you have to buy this thing for me, buy this thing for me. I'm like, you couldn't turn me off faster than asking me to buy something from you.
I was in a big network meeting. I think it was 14, 15 years ago for the
Yeah.
first time, where all the big network groups of Stuttgart, where I lived, came together, like BNI or the
Yeah.
Chamber of Commerce and all these what exists. It was, I would say, 2,000 people in a huge stage. And then
Wow.
there was one guy on stage, and he said, "Okay, raise your hand. Who is here to sell?" Everybody was raising their hands.
Mm-hmm.
He said, "And who is here to buy?" Nobody raised their hands. He said, "You see, what's the problem of this evening?" And this was like, wow, absolutely. And it was about connecting, as you say. I have my studio the space has been a studio since 1893. So
Wow.
it was the first royal photographer when photography was the new shit in the 19th century. So the king of my state, before Germany I mean, before it was a federal republic, it was, we had all these kings and we had one emperor.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Stuttgart, Schwaben had a king, King William, and he had his first portraits taken there, 1893, and then until through all the wars, and it survived both wars. No bomb was dropped, and then in the 50s and 60s, all the film celebrities, Sophia Loren and all those people were there because the photographer had this Rembrandt lighting that was, the typical Hollywood headshot lighting. And after that, I don't know, it was someone else took over, until the 80s, and then it was just regular stuff, So the one before me, she had I don't know how, because there were all the foreigners who came to Germany or come to Germany, and they get their passport, they need their passport picture taken, which is a 20 euro thing. And so I have at least once or twice every month, like every week or every other week, someone ringing the door, speaking hardly German. I need a passport picture, and I say, I don't do that. Okay, bye. And they just turn around. I say, wait a minute. Down the road, and I do this since over almost 10 years. I have the studio. You go out of my studio, go to the left, 1 block on the right side. There's a photo studio and a shop where they sell cameras and stuff like that, and they do that. That's where you can get it for, I think, 2025. Oh, thank you so much. Tell them hi from me. I don't know, and I give them my card, I said, that's what we do, and they go.
Yeah.
And then, but not once in 9 years came a thank you or a bottle of wine or anything. I thought, well, maybe they never said hi from me. I don't know. But I mean, I don't do that for that, but I just want to help those people, same as with, I don't know, like landscape or real estate or all this stuff.
Sure.
I think I shoot only if there's people. I photograph. I don't use shoot anymore. I photograph only if there's people in front of me and not anything else. So, interesting. Okay. And I think helping others with that is really good. You don't always get it back because you have these photographers who think they have to shoot everything. And I just don't want to bore myself, and I don't want to have because it will be a bad outcome if I don't love what I do. I can take those pictures. I can take a picture of food or a car or jewelry, but I just don't want it. And
that was when I started the studio, I knew immediately I didn't want to do weddings, engagements, babies, newborns, families, elopements. I wanted to photograph adults. I wanted to do adult portraiture. Now, that can be headshots, personal branding, fine art, nudes, right? Whatever it is. But I want it to be adults because I do not enjoy the other stuff. So why build a business on things that I don't enjoy? So if I have complete control of my universe, I only want to do things that make me feel good.
Yeah.
So when people start talking to me, they're like, "Oh, you're a photographer. How's the wedding season going?" I'm like, I don't photograph weddings. No babies, no kids, no weddings, no elopements. And they go like this. They go, "Well, how do you make a living?" I said, "I'm really good at what I do by photographing adults." I was like, that's all I do day in and day out. And I'm one of the few photographers in Maine that is only an adult portrait photographer.
Yeah.
Everyone else is weddings and pets and kids and families because they're trying to, make enough from all these small clients. Not me.
Yeah. True.
True. I want to control my environment and be really good at the thing that I do.
Yeah.
And that's why I do just that. I lose out to a lot of other photographers, but then again, I get exactly the clients that I want. I don't get the mother of the bride that's yelling at me because I didn't get the right shot. Oh, nope. I am God in my studio, and you don't get to question me. Like, that's the way I feel about it. I'm like, you came to me. Let me do what I do.
Yeah, I love to be at weddings as a guest, but never as a 100%. Photographer. Never. I did it a few times.
Whenever I get invited to a wedding, I wait for the inevitable. Can you bring your camera? And if that never comes, they get the best gift. Like, I show up, I'm like, here you go. This is awesome. This is great. Congratulations. I'm going to go to the bar and get drunk. Like, I will have a good time. Be a civilian.
And I also pity the photographers. I mean, there are some who are really brilliant and everything. But for me, I tell because it's usually friends, sometimes clients, I say, I just want you to be the star, and
Yeah.
you can't shoot if your mother and mother-in-law is saying, "Hey, the food is coming in 2 hours," and you don't know where to hang the jacket, and your drunk uncle Bird is puking behind the tent. It's always the same shit. And then the
Always.
other uncle, the I don't know, Uncle Werner comes and tells you how fucking great his equipment is and why you're shooting
Yeah.
on Canon and not on Nikon. And I say, what the
Yeah.
fuck? No,
I love this.
it's a zoo.
You get any good shots yet? Get any good pictures yet? No, not a single one. This is my first day using this thing. I have no idea what I'm doing.
Yeah. How much is your camera? Oh, well, mine costs five. So what?
Right, exactly. So what?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
What are the let's say the bullshit bingo of photography is like.
Oof.
There's so many of those sentences.
Well,
Your camera makes great pictures. It's the one that is
your camera
so
takes
close
such
before.
good pictures.
Yeah, yeah.
You must have a great camera. You
Yeah.
must have a great camera. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
you
got
should
that
see-
same
you should see
shot on my iPhone.
my kitchen.
Did you?
Yeah, yeah. Or what equipment are you using? And I always say, I don't know. They look at me like, "What? I don't know. I don't know. The ones I have with me." Because they want to start this discussion, How much
Oh, the
costs
thing
one
that-
photo? It's also the same. One photo.
Yeah. What does one photo cost?
5,000
If you have
euros.
to ask, you can't afford it.
Yeah.
No, the thing that always gets me, right? So, in college, I got a degree in physics, right? So I love light. I love science, right? Got a physics degree. And so to me, light is light, right? I don't get wrapped around strobes versus constant versus natural, like anything like that. Light is light. It's all about where you place it and how you understand it, right? Photons. And so whenever somebody comes up to me, kind of like you do when they ask you, what equipment you're using? I'm like, I don't know. Like, oh, how do you do this with light? I'm like, well, light is light. It doesn't matter if you're using constant or strobe. It's just understanding the source of it. The same way you got to understand kind of what the sun does versus a flashlight. But physics is physics. So light is light. It's all how you manipulate it. And when I give them that answer, that never satisfies them because they want to know the trick.
Yeah.
There is no trick. The trick is learning the craft of photography. It's learning as a baby how to speak words, right? All these are sounds. Yeah. We just make sounds, but we do it repeated enough that we all understand what those sounds mean, right? Yeah. People like you that speak multiple languages know what a lot more sounds than I sound like.
Yeah.
Light is light, but people want the easy button to say, oh, I want to learn everything there is about light in the one thing that you tell me, so that I can then say and record my YouTube video teaching people about light based on the one thing that you told me.
Yeah.
Right. And we're back at the beginning of the conversation. So I find it funny. Yeah. Your camera takes great pictures. I'm a photographer too. Oh yeah. When's the last time you shot? Or I have this camera or yeah. Oh, I was just a film photographer back in the day. You had a Polaroid and you shot out pictures in a Polaroid. Like, okay, totally cool. Right. I never try to make someone feel bad, but I'm just like, you drive a car, I drive an F1 racer, like two different things.
Yeah.
Yes, they both have wheels, but that's about it.
Yeah. Yeah. I gotta lose some weight is the next one. Or can you make me look younger? Can you make me look 5 years younger? You know what I say? I can make you look 5 years old if you want to. Do you want that? No. I say, okay, like just for fun. Yeah, or I don't know. So many people are very conscious with themselves. That's why that's actually the most beautiful part of our work. We didn't talk about it at all. Is the healing we give people. Yeah. We are healers, and when I learned that, that's when my photography skyrocketed in quality, in humanity, and in the outcome, and in the whole connection. Because you do both. You do commercial work and you do private people. For me, the biggest difference is in commercial work, there's not this psychology around it on set. You have a You have a mission, you have a team, you have a goal, you accomplish it. People say, maybe thank you, but they pay you for that. Done.
Yeah.
So, but everybody's professional, everybody's on their own places, and boom, there you go. It's like a football game. Everybody has its own things. And with
totally.
like with kids, playing football with kids or doing photography with private people, you want them to have a good time. And you want them to be, you know, not lose their consciousness, their self-conscious, all these things. And that's something that wouldn't work in a commercial world because you don't have time for that. And if you treat people on your private set the way you would work like on a commercial, you would fucking traumatize them, I think.
Oh yeah.
And that's what I tell my workshop photographers when I tell them, if you need to learn how. If you're working with a professional model, it's easy. She gives you everything. If you want to have the same results with a private person, you are the one who has to, you know, form the mold or however you want to call that. Is your experience the same? It's
100%.
For a lot of people.
So, as photographers, we're kind of in this weird world where we take a picture, let's say, of a model, or even a non-model, it doesn't matter, but it's a beautiful picture, right? Everything hit. The light was perfect. The pose was perfect. The story's great. When most people see that, they're like, I could never be that, because they've never had anyone show them that they can.
Yeah.
And so a lot of the work that you see on my page are not models. Yeah, there were some on there. Absolutely. There's stuff that I've shot at workshops and there's stuff that I've shot at conferences. But the majority of my work in anything that I entered into competition was always client work.
Yeah.
And straight client work, because I wanted to show ordinary people that they could be extraordinary, right? I wanted to show people that felt normal that they could be absolutely gorgeous by being exactly who they are.
Yes.
They don't need anything other than someone that knows light and posing and direction and connection.
Yeah.
And that's it. When I started shooting, I stopped shooting glamour and focused on unfiltered, pure black and white, no retouching, no hair and makeup, no fancy wardrobe. What you see is what you get. And people loving it. Not only did my sales go up, but the satisfaction that people got was way more intense than people saying, yeah, these are the photos that I expected. I can take anyone, bring them into the studio, do one of my unfiltered sessions, and damn near guarantee that they're going to see parts of themselves that no one has ever captured on film before. And the reason behind that is I ask them questions that they haven't been asked before. I create an emotional, conversational connection. So they stop thinking about what they look like. They stop thinking about what they're doing. And we're just talking and they're being themselves. And then when that gets captured, they say, these are the images. I've never seen myself. That's me right there. That's me. That is the perfect state. That's exactly what I want to give people. I don't want to give them a version of them. I want to give them pictures of them, about them.
Do you, when you do this, like, because for example, the commercial light is hard light, so all the wrinkles are accentuated, and you have to take it back in the process and everything. But you need this sharpness. So when you do this without any of the salt and pepper, you know, do you do it very softly? So because sometimes I mean, some pictures can be like rougher than life, but you want them, and it's basically, from my experience, it's mostly women, guys who look tough. They mostly find it cool. Yeah, I have my wrinkles, and their scars and whatever. But women are more sensitive with that, also because of, you know, the heritage of how they were treated and how they were, you know, like primed to what is important and what not. But what is your approach to that so they really fall in love with themselves unfiltered and exactly the way they are, although they just see themselves, usually you see yourself in the mirror, so this is the first, oh my God, my face is the other way around. How do you do that?
Yeah. So again, credit where credit is due, right? I learned a lot of this method from Mitzi Starkweather. She's got a raw portraits course. And she and I have been friends for years. And I was shooting this way without really packaging it and having a process or a workflow around it.
Okay.
She was doing the same thing in St. Louis, and she packaged it up and made a process and everything around it. And I was like, that's brilliant. So I started adopting a lot of her coursework, right? Again, taking the recipe, making it my own, presenting it. So to answer your question about the lighting, part of the process of this is the client, first and foremost, has to know what they're getting into.
Okay.
So, they know that it's not going to be hair and makeup. They just show up however they want to be.
Okay.
I'm not going to go above and beyond to get them hair and makeup and say, you have to wear this. I want them to be them, because the conversations that I usually have with them are, what do you want to see in yourself? What is it that you're going through? What do you want to capture? I want to be happy. I just got divorced. I just got married. My mom just died. My dog just died. I want to capture this moment in time. Perfect. So I take them through 3 different stages. First stage is a movement stage. And I use very simple lighting for this. Usually a 60-inch octa with a grid and some side lighting, maybe a reflector. Very simple. First stage is movement, and I just give them prompts. Show me the way that you would dance at your cousin's wedding. Show me the way that you would move if you got really excited and you just got a new job. How would you move, right? And people just start moving and talking and having fun, and I'm doing weird stuff with them. We do that for about 20 minutes, and I'm just shooting and talking, shooting and talking, shooting and talking. Second is all about expression. I sit them at a table, usually a white background, simple side light, little Rembrandt maybe a little bounce, and we just go through expressions. Show me what it's like to be angry at yourself. Show me what it's like when you have nothing but self-love. What does it look like when you're the goofiest version of yourself, right? You go through these things, and they give you these, and as they start to get into it, you're drawing these different sides. Does your mom have a face that she makes all the time? Can you imitate that? Right? And they start making their mom's face, right? Right. Stuff like, exactly. And then the last section is, I call it skin. It's really just about vulnerability, right? You don't have to be naked. You don't have to do anything. I just want you to be vulnerable in a way that feels uncomfortable for you, because that's the whole point, right? Some people will say, I had a mastectomy. I want to show my scars because no one's ever seen that. That's a big part of me. Okay, let's do that. One portion of one tattoo. Some people want to get fully nude and just say, this is me, world, take it or leave it, right? So I leave it up to them, because after the first 2, now they feel a little bit safer. They know it's not anything that I'm going to make them feel bad. And we go through and we just explore what they feel like is vulnerability. Some people take it to an extreme. Some people stay very surface, but I leave it up to them. I don't pressure anything.
Yeah.
But the thing that I love about this whole system is, let's say in that course of an hour, I shoot 1,000 photos. Because I'm just click, right? Trying to capture those in between moments.
Yeah, since you don't curate, of course.
Right? So then when that's done, I then immediately dump all the pictures onto my laptop, and I put it in front of them, and I say, drive. You pick your photos, not me culling them. Go through, and anytime you get an emotion that feels good, hit the 1, hit the star, right? So then we go through and they cull it down from 1,000 to 100. And we say, okay, now let's go through and weed out the stuff that doesn't feel as good. And they get it from 100 to 50. And then we go from 50 to 40, because now it's getting harder because they're seeing all these versions of themselves.
Yeah.
So now I go from selling just 10 images to 40 images. My pricing is the same. I don't change my pricing. The experience is what I'm after. The fact that these images mean something to them, that they truly see themselves in it. And I don't care how many pictures they buy. I just want them to buy the pictures that feel like them, that they're proud of. And it is the most satisfying, most fulfilling type of session that I do. It beats any commercial work. It beats any work that I do in the fine art side because it's real and it's people that haven't seen themselves in a long time. And it's my favorite thing. I went through it. I had Mitzi photograph me and I went through all sorts of stuff. I'm very uncomfortable with my body. And at the end of it, I was fully naked. Yep. And I was just kind of like, this is me. And
you're a handsome dude. What's your problem?
Neck up, I'm aces. Neck down, it's a disaster.
Come on, you have even cool tattoos there with a guy with a, what is that, with the sunglasses or something? Who is that? Like, here, on your left arm. I can see it.
Oh, this? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've got like Hercules there, right? So there's Hercules, and this is Perseus and Medusa, and I've got Shiva up here, and I've got all these different
look at the biceps.
Gods and stuff.
All good, you don't worry.
So, but the thing is, right, it's just ingrained body shit, right? Yeah. We all have some degree of it.
Yeah, of course.
And doing that photo shoot made me look at myself in a different way and go, you know what, things aren't that bad.
It's like therapy, yeah.
Pretty good looking guy. Yeah.
And did you, like, do they get the book in the end, or like something that they can touch? Or is it like, portfolio boxes, or, because I think this is something they might not want to hang on their, or put on their walls necessarily. It's more private, I guess, right?
Yeah, it depends, right? So I always give them the option. What I push, the product that most people get is it's the Graphy storybook. This is not it. This is a folder with papers in it. Yeah. But it's about this size, and it's made from leather, and it's very soft. It's all handmade paper. It's beautiful. And I like that because it feels informal enough that they can look at it and feel good about it. It's not like a formal, hard wedding album, right? But I've had some people say, I want this one image in a 30 by 40 for my wall because I love it so much. And that is me, and that's what I want.
The best. When people
want I don't retouch.
Oh, really? Wow. It's an interesting approach. Maybe I should implement that as well, because I am all about the curated, which I love because I have this, I have this cinematic Hollywood love deep inside of me, but also, I like this very gritty, tough, and very real portraits that other people do. But I usually people come to me because they want to see the best version of themselves visually also. Yeah. But the other one is like the most real version would also be cool. Although the best version is also a real version, but it takes a lot of effort to be like that, so they don't complain to themselves after, looking at a magazine and say, oh, I want to look like that. Well, yeah, it took 2 hours to look like that. Also for Jennifer Aniston, it took maybe 3 hours. So, and a team of 5. So that's the reality, and that's important. It's interesting.
What I love about it is that I never shame someone for wanting the best version of themselves. They want hair and makeup. They want the nice outfit. Yeah, of course. They want retouching. It's what I do. But I also want people that want to have radical self-acceptance. They may not love themselves, but they're trying real hard, right? And what this type of shoot does is puts all the power in their hands to choose the photos that they feel most connected with. It's not me deciding, it's them deciding, right? Yes. And along the way, I'm showing them the back of the camera just so they understand kind of what it's looking like. But I shoot in black and white, right? I shoot Fuji, so I'm shooting in like an Acros film simulation. That's exactly what they see. They pick the images and they have them that evening. The storybook The printed product will take a couple of weeks,
Of course.
but they get their images that night. By doing it that quickly, they're still excited about it. They're putting them on social media faster. More people see them. They get more feedback. Everybody feels good about them, right? There's so many benefits that I didn't realize I could have because I was trying to curate everything and make everything perfectly retouched in the perfect version. That takes time. This cut out a ton of work. And the only reason I can do this is because I spent 10 years developing the skills to make it easy, right?
Yeah.
That's
like
the part of it.
In a circus. To make it look easy, it's a lot of work.
Yeah. And I'm not saying I'm the best at it. It's just, it's the most satisfying thing for me to do because it feels effortless. And don't we all want our photography to feel effortless?
That's the best part.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, Matt, to come to a conclusion, I mean, this was very, very interesting about all fields from how to develop your business to AI to how to get better in your job, how to handle the creative part and the business part, and now with this wonderful how do you say it, like approach to portraiture. Is there anything that you, I mean, I bet there's millions of things, but maybe name one of those or two of a project that you would really love to do, like something that say, oh, I want to do this so much.
You know, it's funny you ask that because the thing that immediately came to mind was something that I did a couple days ago. And so when I first started out, I told you earlier, I found my education through Sue Bryce Education, right? And Sue was always someone that I had a lot of respect for from the standpoint of what she built, the community that she built, the business that she built, the way that she educated, right? And love or hate her, you can't take anything away from her, right?
No, she's brilliant.
So she's brilliant. So over the years, I don't want to ever say that we become best friends, but we became friends, right? A lot of mutual respect. I love what I learned everything from her. The majority of my business I learned from her. And I remember saying when I first saw Sue on Creative Live, someday I'm going to know that woman and someday I'm going to be on that stage. And 2 days ago, I interviewed her for my podcast Generator, which has been like 7 years in the making of this relationship. And it was just kind of this culmination of things coming full circle. Me starting a photography career, looking for education, finding a mentor, over the years developing my craft, working it into something different. And now I'm interviewing this person on my podcast. And it was just really cool. So when you say, you know, is there something that you'd love to do? 7 years ago, that was exactly what I wanted to do. And it just happened. I think if I were to look forward, what are the things that I'd love to do at this point? Is there a checkbox? I always have my goals, what I want to do financially. But if there was a shoot that I could do, this will make me cry. Okay. Trying, leave it at the end. 2 hours in, and I made it without crying.
Gotcha. All good.
So my parents have been married for 55 years.
Wow.
For their 50th anniversary, they came up to my studio. They live in Massachusetts. They came up to my studio, and I did some photos for them. They had never been photographed since their wedding in 1970. So I was able to photograph them, give them a couple of pictures. Very soon after that, my dad was diagnosed with dementia. 5 years later, I saw him last week. He's not the same man. Doesn't recognize me anymore. I wish I had taken more pictures of him and heard more of the stories from adult male to adult male. And I'll never get that chance to do that again. I won't be able to hear those stories again.
I'm sorry.
My wish would be that I will be able to take images of my dad that I will always have. So it's not a one shoot thing. Every time I go to see him, I bring my camera and I take another picture, and I take pictures of us together. Because I do not want at the end of my life to say, I wish I had more pictures of my dad. So honestly, when you say like, what's the one shoot? The next time I go to visit my dad is going to be that picture. And then the next time after that is going to be that picture. Then the next time after that. And I know I don't have decades left with him. So I just want to make all those things. I don't want to miss the opportunity if it's presented to me, you know?
Man, now you're making me cry. Wow.
I told you, man. It's rough. We all get to this age, right? It's a natural course of what happens in the human experience. But yeah, that's the one thing that I want. I want, when he's not around anymore, to be able to say, he's still right here because I got all these pictures, right? That's what will make it worthwhile.
It's a wonderful, wonderful answer, Matt. And I remember when we met actually in 2022.
It was 22, right?
In Phoenix. Yeah. There was this one speaker on stage. He was, I don't remember his name. He had this like Japanese outfit, was black.
Oh, Matthew Jordan Smith. Jordan Smith.
Wonderful, wonderful sensei. And he told the story about his father, who was a priest, I guess, if I remember well. And he took
like a preacher. Yeah,
exactly. And he took pictures of him while he was also, I don't know if it was dementia, but he was suffering some slow dying. And a picture of his slippers, of his cigarettes, and he kept those. And that's like, take pictures. And I mean, we all have our cell phone all the time, so that's when I also started just to take pictures of hotel rooms I stayed at with my love, or also even alone, or I filmed actually the room in Phoenix where we were, just to not forget how it was even 10 years after. Yeah. When I have a rental car and I liked it, I take a picture of it from out, because usually you don't do that, right? It's just a car. But all these little memories are then on the phone, and especially if it's a person like your parents, your father, and they will be gone one day. It's beautiful to have that, and if we have the craft, we can even make it look good, not just having it. But that's a wonderful approach, yeah. But that's what it reminds me of. Did you get inspired by that as well?
I did, yeah. As a matter of fact, it hit home really hard because it was early on in my dad's diagnosis that I saw Matthew Jordan Smith do that, and I said, I'm going to miss this opportunity. And I'll grab it here. There's somewhere, there it is, my little Ricoh GR2 camera. Okay. I keep this thing on me at all times. So I'm not carrying a big camera, but this takes better pictures than this.
Oh, really? Okay.
And this, it's any point and shoot, right, that you can throw in your pocket. Yeah. I just happen to have this little one, and it takes great pictures, and it makes me still feel like I can be creative or get the moment and not have to leave the moment because I got a text or an Instagram message. This keeps me present, and I would rather have this in moments like that than a phone any day of the week.
That's true. Yeah. I have a little point and shoot that has film, actually. It's a Kodak that looks old. It's newer. It's so fun.
Yeah.
I had my first film. I took it out and I wanted to develop it, and I didn't find it anymore. And then I went to the laundry and it was in there. It was completely gone. I said, "Oh no!" I took it to the lab and I said, "Can I do this?" They said, "No, because it's you can do it, but the machine, because the film was soaked." So now I have a second one. I said, "Hell, yeah!" But I had super old from my grandfather, and there was a film in there who was like 8 years old, and I had it developed, and there were pictures of my ex-wife and me with our dog when we had it like small, 7 years old, like super small dog. It was beautiful. I forgot when I took those pictures, and I have also some like one-way cameras from a wedding or somewhere, maybe 8 years old, 10 years old, I don't know. and I shoot sometimes with them, and after 10 years, I just give them. So this is the magic of why I love photography so much as a child. You never know what's coming out, and it's the only way to do that with film. And this point and shoot, I would highly recommend everyone to have one with them. If not, take your phone. But the best camera is always the one you carry. That's what I say.
Always one you carry. And I've got a bunch of these. Like I've got little Nikons and little Kodaks, and like they're scattered around everywhere because it's the process. I want something that keeps me in the moment and is basically a one and done. I'm not going to edit these straight to JPEG.
JPEGs.
It is what it is. You know.
Yeah. Exactly, and people are not so scared if you don't have this.
Exactly.
Battleship thing. Yeah. Well, it was wonderful to have you, Matt. Incredible.
This was such a fun conversation. I had a lot of words, so I apologize for the editing.
No, it's all good. I won't edit. These podcasts are unscripted, and that's why I don't edit anything out. And before I went to the Portrait Masters 2022, I was online for maybe a year, and I saw you a lot, your work and what you were writing and everything. And I said, I want to meet this guy, and I want to have him. I didn't know I would have a podcast then, but I want to meet this guy. We met in the pool, remember? And
I do.
It was wonderful. And then now I was at your podcast, you're at mine. This is like you're the super ice of this podcast so far. Just to know.
I appreciate that, brother. But you and I, the thing is, I look to you and I'm like, God, this guy's work is so good.
Really?
He's so good.
Oh man, I want to. Yeah, well, I think next time I come over, which will be in summer, I'll come up to Maine somehow, or you come down to Florida, or we'll meet wherever in Texas, Arizona, anywhere, and let's gear up and have fun.
I'd like that. I'd like that a lot. I really, really would. I think it'd be a ton of fun. And you are welcome here anytime you want. You come on up. The studio is yours. The guest room here is yours. Like whatever you need, you come on up. I would love to host you here in Maine.
Thank you so much. Same for when I have my place in Florida. Until then, you can come to Germany anytime. My studio is yours. I have a guest room as well. This is official. This is official bromance.
Perfect.
Wow, it's incredible. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here and for giving us so much insight for everything. It has been wonderful.
My pleasure.
Absolutely.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.
Be safe and talk to you soon. Bye.
Auf Wiedersehen.